I'll tell you a short story. When I was a kid, I ran away from the police on my dad's XL250. I was 16 years old, and I couldn't get away from, and they caught me, and they, very interesting what they did. They were right behind me, so close. I pulled the key out of the bike and I coasted to a stop and dropped it and put my hands up, and I thought, okay, they see that I'm cooperating. I mean, I was 17. It's a long time ago. They pull me off the back of the bike. It falls. I'm thinking, oh, my dad's pissed already because his bike got dropped. And they throw me on the top of the car that was chasing me, and they took a billy club and stuck it into my Bell Moto Star and pulled. So my helmet was on. I was doing everything they told me, but they weren't messing. And they stuck it in there, and I mean, I was already complying. And then yada yada yada. My dad comes to jail to get me out of jail, and out in the lobby of the police station, they let me out, and he's there, and he just starts wailing on me in the lobby. And I thought they were going to stop him, and they were laughing. They were sitting behind the counter laughing, and it was. So I don't run from the police. You can't win on that. And if you think you can, you got to be a pretty good rider, and I couldn't do it. But
so what would they have done with that billy club if you hadn't had a helmet on? That's the question.
That's a good point. But why I mentioned that is a couple days later, to follow up on the case, they came to where I work, which was the Italjet, which is it's an old company, Italian. They made mini cycles. I would work for the distributor, and they were in North Hollywood. And a detective comes, and he's got a stack of, and he takes me in the conference room. My boss said, yeah, you go in with him. And we go in the conference room, and he pulls out a stack of pictures of people. This was before there was a helmet law. I mean, so there were a lot of people riding, Honda 750s and everything else under the sun, but a lot of Honda 750s without helmets riding out to Palm Springs and all that. But this was just all Polaroids of the aftermath of accidents, and heads caved in, and I had to look at them one by one, and this guy was just watching me go and made me look at it. Probably there were at least 100 pictures of just caved in, all different scenes, and it's not. So yeah, helmet laws. I have my own helmet law. I wear my helmet. So
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the Harley days, we would take our helmets off in Arizona when we crossed the line. But I was a lot younger, and
I did it, and I felt weird.
Yeah.
And now being so bald, or pretty bald, it's different.
I'd burn.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking how cool it was actually that police department or that detective decided to do that with you. By the way, your hat's a little screwed up.
Oh, thank you. Well, there's a little more to that story. They let me off. Not the traffic part. The judge was my dad wouldn't go to court with me either. And he was an eye doctor, and he didn't want any part of it. And he said, you go. And the judge said, I could throw your father in jail. And my friend, who's a lawyer, said, don't take your license with you, because they're going to take it away from you. And I got there, and he says, so I bet you didn't bring the judge. He says, I bet you didn't bring your license with you. And I said, you're right. He said, well, go home and get it. And I had to go home and get it. But my dad not being there, he said, I could throw your dad in jail. And I'm like, please, please don't do that. I've already had enough of this. And I lost my license until I was 18. And I had a new car that sat in the driveway. I could back it up to the sidewalk and back up the driveway. And my dad hit it with his Cadillac just for good riddance. With backing out one day, he just hit the door, and yeah, that was the scene. So I don't mess with the cops on them. If you've done that.
I got stopped by the sheriff yesterday off-road with Shane. We had just finished our ride, which was a great ride.
You didn't try to take off?
I did not try to run. I was off the bike, actually, and it was sitting there. We always leave them running to burn the gas out of the float bowls, and while we're sort of getting the truck ready to put them up in there. So sheriff comes up on a Suzuki DRZ. I think it must have been a 400. All decked out in well, it was a white DRZ with sheriff's logos on the side and sheriff on the front of it, and he was checking our spark arresters and checking to make sure our registration was current. I guess I don't know why they were out yesterday, but it's the first time I've seen them up at Rower Flat. But I did not run. I was.
And you had a DRZ.
I used to have.
So
a
you
DRZ.
know that you could have outrun that bike on your CRF.